You know when you're an empath, when the weather affects you. Shit. This Scorpio season is probably the most intense energy that we have ever felt on the planet, especially as light workers, shadow workers, inner child healers, ancestral healers, shamans, you name it, all in the spiritual community. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because there is a time right now where the entire collective, not just us in the spiritual community, I mean, we're all spiritual, let's just be honest, even if most people are unaware of this inherent side of who they are, the whole collective is going through a dark night of the soul. And I want to bring awareness to this concept, not just the dark night of the soul, but why darkness is needed. And when we can engulf and emerge ourselves into the understanding that this is all part of the divine plan, well, there's nothing to really fear. There's nothing to really judge. And honestly, it could open up our hearts to really understanding the divine plan on a deeper level than we think through our own human perspective. One is Gooch, you beautiful awakened ones. Welcome back, another episode on Embracing Ascension series with your homegirl, Brittany Fontanez. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I am an intuitive healer and shaman. Intuitive shaman, healer, reader. I'm tired. I woke up a little late today because I'm that tired. Yes, I will blame the rain, but also I will understand why this intense energy is really making us even more tired than usual because we're going through a huge purge. But other than that, if you're new to this channel, welcome. On this channel, I speak about spirituality with compassion, emotional awareness with love. I do guided readings for each zodiac sign, and I talk about things I feel need to be talked about because it's our divine right to know more than what we have been told. Beautiful awakening. Let's just take a deep breath because it's fucking beautiful out today. Not too sunny, not too cold. This moment in time, I feel, is literally the ending of the year. And I say that because all of us have been feeling like we need to contemplate on a deeper level than we ever had before in our lives. Not only about what we're doing with our lives, but our entire existence overall. Why is everything the way that it is? Why is it that we still are cooped up with this concept of fearing, of worrying, of expecting the worst? And all of us are fighting with our heart and our mind, not like we never have before. I mean, we've been doing this for decades, centuries already. But now is the time to really honor these emotions of that fear and also give it space to be questioned, give it space to feel that it deserves to be here. Now this sounds very fucking esoteric, but let's get real. The whole process of healing requires us to not judge the emotions we feel because we're human. We're not just human, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So we need to have this vessel, these emotions that make up the human form to exist in order for us to connect to our spiritual selves. But the only way to really heal from things that bother us internally, that we like to project, that we think the outside world is bothering us, no, it's just the inner projection of what is bothering us that we like to project on the outer world. The reason why we need to accept these emotions because they're a part of who we are. It takes a lot of courage to have responsibility for these emotions that we feel, for these thought patterns, for these beliefs. And I say that because we're literally taking on the inheritance of our parents that they didn't want to take responsibility for. Hence why they projected all of their pain onto us. Hence why they always thought that we are them when we're not. Just understand, God used your parents to make you. Your parents did not make you. And you know this because your parents didn't know how your eye color was going to look, how your hair was going to look, how your body was going to be formed. Only the divine knew that. Only higher source knew that. And this is why it's important to honor yourself as you take responsibility for your spiritual journey. Because when you take responsibility for your journey, yourself as an individual, when you do this, you're really starting to build a foundation for yourself. Again, you're rewiring yourself. Because when we come onto this planet, we have our own beliefs, our own orientation, our own way of being, our own way of thinking. And we don't. We're taught to think. We're taught to feel certain things. We're taught to believe in certain things. And therefore, when we get older, we wonder why we are the way that we are. We try to blame ourselves, thinking there's something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with you. You just were equipped with so many things that built the false foundation. And now when you take responsibility for your journey, it's going to require a lot of courage to build a new foundation that feels safe for you, that feels loving for you, that feels good to you. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to take this journey because it requires to question fear. It requires going within the darkness, going within the unknown to figure out something that our soul knows that we have yet to know. I know this sounds very paradoxical, but this whole universe, there's a reason why everything exists. There's a reason why we exist. There's a reason why everything is happening the way that it is. And this is where we're going to get into why darkness is needed. Because like I just explained, when you take responsibility for your journey and you have to go through the healing process of understanding your emotions, it requires you to see the unconscious, and the unconscious is in the darkness. Now, there's two different parts of darkness. I want to explain that to you, because darkness really is the feminine energy. Hence, that saying, "Let there be light." There was darkness, so that was feminine energy, the darkness. What happens when things are in the dark? The way a plant grows its roots, it has to be in the dark. The way a baby grows, it has to be in the dark in the womb. That's how the world was before our source decided to create this whole existence. There was darkness. There was a yearning for life, a yearning for creation. And therefore, boom, the creation decided to create light, to create expression. Now, we have been too expressive. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a way where we have been so expressive that we only show the world our outer selves, which is of the ego. And what happens when we're so cooped up in the ego that we forget what is behind that? What is the truth behind what we don't show to the world? And that is the part that we're fearful of. And that is the part that everyone is going through right now, is what we consider the dark night of the soul, which requires you to assess, to contemplate, to question these avenues of self that don't even feel good to you. And this is why we have to understand the difference between the feminine, which is of darkness, which is of creation, which is of nurturing, loving, understanding, butterfly, beautiful, orange, sacral, emotions, connections. See what I mean? So everything is relevant. So as we understand now, the darkness is of the feminine energy, like the moon when it comes out. It makes us feel more in touch with our emotions. That's how it is. But now, we're going to get into the darkness that I'm really talking about today. Since now you know the difference between darkness is good, darkness is needed. It's needed to help create life, and it still does. But the darkness that we're living in the world is what is requiring us to make massive assessments and changes that feel very, very fucking intense. This is why we feel more tired than ever. This is why we feel more fucking frustrated than ever with things in our life, because we're ready for that magnificent transformation of taking back our power. And that darkness I talk about is corruption. The darkness I talk about is what people consider evil. Don't get me wrong. I do believe there are such things that are opposite from light, that are opposite from, I don't want to say good or bad, because we're not here to label, we're not here to judge. When we stop putting labels and judgments on certain things, we start to see it for what it is, that it's meant to be here. That's why we got to learn to accept things. And this is why I want to share with you why we need to learn to accept these parts of why the world is going through this huge transition, meaning why what we have believed in authority are starting to come to light, why a lot of corruption is taking place, why a lot of things are pummeling, why a lot of things are coming to light. It's because without this type of inherited darkness, we wouldn't remember our power. If it wasn't for this corruption, if it wasn't for this fear, if it wasn't for everything that we have believed in so far that's created these centuries of life, if it wasn't for all this falsehood, we really wouldn't create a solution to create a better life for ourselves. Like, for example, I'm going to say this. I feel it needs to be said. Like Elon Musk. Elon Musk sold majority of Tesla stocks. Ain't that some shit? He sold majority of Tesla stocks so he could take that money, and he wants to go to another planet. He wants to create life on another planet because he believes that we're destroying our planet today. That right there is a clear indication of an individual, not just an individual, another divine being who decided to look at the corruption in the world and want to create a solution for it. That's what I'm telling you. The darkness is needed. The corruption is needed. All this is needed because it's time for us to find our power. It's time for us to understand our innate, inherited birthrights of abundance, of happiness, of creation, of individuality. The reason why we live in a world where we try to act the same, because what happens when we are the same? We're like robots. Like the movie I, Robot, Will Smith. They all look the same. They all act the same except for that one robot. And when that one robot acted different, a whole new chain of individuality was created. Hence, a variety of different ways of creation can take place. The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because, one, movies don't lie. They literally tell us what they're doing in this world. Hence, I went to school for film production, so I really understand this, pretty much the symbolism behind movies. But the whole point of why I'm explaining this is because I want you to understand that we're not meant to be the same. We're not meant to keep building on a foundation that is not stable enough for us to thrive. And it takes us having courage, and it takes us requiring power to take care of ourselves. Because as much as we believe that we're nothing, if we were nothing, we wouldn't exist. So you are a part of this universal puzzle. You are a piece of this universal puzzle. You are just as important as everything else and everyone else. I say everything else because the same way this grass exists, the same way you exist, the same way you were needed. Same way that tree. So I want you to understand that you're so important, but it's time for you to realize what has made you believe that you're unimportant and do what you can to have the faith and courage to fight against that paradigm. Because it's not a time to keep living in fear. It's not a time to keep giving your power away. It's a time to recognize your birthrights. And our birthrights is abundance. Our birthright is richness. Our birthright is love. Our birthright is happiness. Our birthright is making a life that we feel is good to our soul. That's the whole point of this. And you might be asking, then why were we born in such a corrupt world, Britt? You know why? Because it's part of the divine plan. I know it sounds crazy. I know you've been thinking, so me getting, trigger warning, me getting sexually assaulted, me getting hurt by a parent and losing their trust, me not believing in love, this is all part of the divine plan? That sounds really fucked up. So you might be thinking God's fucked up. No. God gives his toughest battles to his toughest warriors. The reason why we were born in corruption, because we are the ones to flip that corruption into something beneficial. Becoming the alchemist of life and being the inspiration for life, because we learned to try to remember our truth, not to live in a false truth, but to remember our truth. Do you see how I'm doing this? We need the yin and yang. We need both sides, because this is what makes up who we are. Everything that's happening on the outside of us is really on the inside of us. We have light, we have darkness, we have God, we have the devil. You know, we have, I don't want to say goodness or badness, but we have both of these energies within us. It's just a matter of how are we going to merge with understanding both aspects of ourselves so we can bring something beautiful into this world, so we can bring more understanding and more wisdom from our own souls onto this planet in order to help it understand that all of this is part of the divine plan. The darkness is part of the divine plan to help us wake up, to help us remember, to help us bring our power back on this planet. We're not meant to be ruled. We're not meant to be controlled. We're meant to find balance and stability within ourselves and find a way to bring that into the physicality. This is why we have a lot of people we look up to. I mean, I hate how we look at rich people like they're demigods. They're far from that. They're far from that. They're human just like us. They're human just like us. But we have these certain people we look up to because they have a source of what we feel we lack. What if I told you what they have, you already have? It's just a matter of, are you willing to see yourself in a different light? Are you willing to go within the darkness, to shine light on that darkness of those unconscious parts of yourself and bring an understanding up into the consciousness so you can realize, if it wasn't for hatred, I wouldn't know love. If it wasn't resentment, I wouldn't know compassion. If it wasn't for judgment, I wouldn't know understanding. If it wasn't for sadness, I wouldn't know happiness. We need both of these things. So I want you to understand that the reason why this corruption is happening, the reason why we consider what is evil and what is not good is happening, because it's time for us to step into our power. It's time for us to merge with our higher self. It's time for us to stop saying, I'm woke. You could be woke and still not have gotten your ass out of bed. It's time to get your ass out of bed. Stop being lazy. Stop being fearful. Stop judging. Stop looking the bad at life and start realizing, if people I look up to have the power to create their life, what makes me believe I don't have the power to create my life? What makes me believe I don't have the power to create miracles for me or to expect them? What? So it's time to really take deep assessments. And it's beautiful because it's Scorpio season, all about death and rebirth, baby. Perfect timing. So, you guys, this is all I wanted to share, is the bringing awareness and understanding that everything that's in the dark is needed in order to bring light to it. There's no need for you to fear your inner demons, to fear your traumas, to fear your emotions, to fear your thoughts, to fear this world or anyone. There's no need to. When you look at fear in the eye, like a little child that has a temper tantrum, that just wants to be heard and seen and loved, you would never look at fear again the way that you have, thinking that's a big monster coming after you. It's not. If anything, behind that little monster is like the Wizard of Oz. I remember seeing hella movies. It's like Wizard of Oz when she's like, oh, the wizard is going to help save my life. And it's like a little miniature ass dude behind a huge ass mask. It's just like that. We just need to change our perspective of how we see things. So I'm here to explain to you, look at fear like an inner child, like your inner child yearning for your attention, yearning for that love you've been desiring, and realizing that there's no need to fear yourself. And when you stop fearing yourself, what happens? When there's no enemy within, there's no enemy without. So other than that, you beautiful beings, I wanted to bring an awareness and an activation through this video, and I hope I did. And if I did, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And boo boo, if you want to know more stuff about this, write in the comment section, what would you like to know more in depth about either corruption or about feminine masculine energy, or about even healing the inner child? If you want to know more information about this, then comment below what is it that you precisely want to know so I can make more videos on it. I would love your guys' perspective and inputs. Other than that, you guys, I should have said this in the beginning, but if you guys are wanting to add another source of income into your life and are interested in that, then I do have an affiliate programming where it teaches you how to create an ecosystem of affiliate programmings, meaning that not only that you create a new source of income, but you create multiple sources of income. So if you're interested in that, and also interested in a reading or a healing session on understand how to heal yourself on a deeper level, all that information and business acquires are down in the description box below. But other than that, you beautiful beings, I love you guys so much. Please hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any videos. Until then, you guys, just know where you're at is where exactly you need to be. Don't fear it, just question it. The more you question, the more you learn. The more you ask, the more you shall receive. So other than that, you guys, I love you so much. Have a blissful ass day. Do what you can to take care of yourself. And until then, I'll see you on the next one. Only love and namaste.